Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the OGSHL expansion draft featuring the Vegas Golden Knights. Alaric, the Vegas Golden Knights GM, sent us over his expansion picks about 2 or 3 days ago. I can't really remember right now. But he put it in an Excel sheet and he had all the salaries next to it as well and the teams that he picked from. So it was very easy for us to make this video and put his team up against the cap to see if he is below it or went over it or if he reached the floor or not. He definitely went over the floor. He's just underneath the cap actually. So that's one thing that's really hard, I guess, in being an expansion team in a cap league versus our other two cap leagues. You're not worried about salary. You're not worried about how am I going to get the players that I personally want to fit. Maybe he couldn't pick every player he wanted. He might have had to change it around just to fit under the cap. Keep in mind, any player under 2 million he can put onto his AHL squad, so that gives him a bit of breathing room and a bit of a leniency, I guess, there to build the team that he wanted. Also, keep in mind, oh, I should charge my Mac before it dies. But keep in mind that Alaric also has the 5th pick in the draft, as well as the added 32nd pick, the very last pick in the first round that we're giving him. And he has that very early second round pick, the 35th pick. So that's 3 quality picks there. Definitely even good trade bait. Like anybody would really want those picks. So always nice to have a core use system there. I think the way that we set this up, it gives this team a very good chance to succeed in any direction, really. And I think it's actually better some already established teams, but I think that's what we come to expect and what you can come to expect in the real life draft. I think the Vegas team in real life is going to be better than quite a few teams already established, especially with how, I guess, here we have bit of a leniency where it's just 10 players you can protect, but in the NHL you see teams only protecting 8 players because they want to protect 4 or 5 defensemen versus having the 7 forwards and the 3 defensemen. So the Vegas team in real life, I think, has a much broader spectrum to bring in players, but it's going to be interesting for sure. But without further ado, let's get to our draft. So I built this in Google Slides. It's really easy. I was going to use PowerPoint, but it's really easy to import. And most of you guys will see the banners that I made for these teams. You'll see that in the entry draft from previous years. So basically just took it from our Google Sheets and just copy and pasted it. So it was really easy, not too much work. I actually did our bar down one yesterday, so some of you guys saw that. So it's pretty easy. What you're going to see is 5 teams on the left, and then I'll press the enter button, and the player's name will come up for the Anaheim Ducks. So without further ado, Alaric selects from the Anaheim Ducks Mike Condon. Definitely a solid goalie. He had a pretty good year compared to what we were expecting from him. So right off the bat, coming out, picking a goalie to build around. There's more to come. From the Anaheim Ducks, from the Arizona Coyotes, Brandon Sutter. Sutter is a solid forward. He had, at one point, was probably Pittsburgh Penguins' second best center, obviously if you're excluding Crosby and Malkin. But when he got traded, he didn't perform as well, but I think Sutter can bounce back. Definitely a solid pickup, especially from what Arizona was providing. And from the Boston Bruins, Chris Kunitz. Yet another Penguin, except he's still a Penguin and a recently new Stanley Cup champion. Kunitz, I don't know how good he is without playing on that Penguins team, but he puts up points, he gets the overall rating. That's all that matters. Definitely good trade value right there. And from the Buffalo Sabres, Justin Williams. Yet another forward and yet another veteran forward that gets the job done as well, especially in the playoffs. Justin Williams is like a playoff warrior. I don't know what happens. He kicks it into a different gear. I guess he can't really sustain that high level through an 82 game season, but he's pacing himself for the playoffs. So definitely a solid pick there, especially with how young the Buffalo Sabres team is in the OGSHL. And from the Calgary Flames, Alaric selects Justin Bailey. So right there, the first 5 picks, you have 4 forwards and 1 goalie, and you can assume that the rest might be defense heavy, considering we have these minimum in place. So let's get to the next 5 picks. From the Carolina Hurricanes, Alaric selects Zemgus Girgensons. Girgensons is a great pickup. Not really sure what happened with him in Buffalo this past season, but I think on a different team with more opportunity, he can be a top 6 forward. He was all the rage about 2 years ago. They had that song for him from Latvia. So yeah, Girgensons maybe being a little bit of a star for the Vegas Knights right away. From the Blackhawks, Ben Lovejoy. Lovejoy's a solid defenseman. I actually watched him a lot because he was on the Devils this past year. So I never really paid attention too much to him. And once he came to our team, I realized he's a pretty solid defenseman. He's not going to wow you. He's not going to really disappoint you. He's just going to do his job and do it well. So from the Colorado Avalanche, Alexei Emelin. I think this is another defenseman similar to Ben Lovejoy, but I think he's a little bit better than Ben Lovejoy. I think he's a better bit all around defensively, and I think he provides a little bit more stability back there. And Lovejoy and Emelin are 2 solid pieces to build around on defense, especially when you're in the Vegas Knights position. And from the Columbus Blue Jackets, Corey Crawford. Now this is a very good pickup as well, especially in net. This might be his starting goaltender, or it's his trade bait. Either way, Corey Crawford's a great goalie. He's a little bit older, but Corey Crawford, I think he's going to come back a little bit better. He had a little bit of a down year, but definitely can pick it up and be back to being who he was. And from the Dallas Stars, Alaric selects Slater Cuckoo. Definitely a good young defenseman for the Tampa Bay Lightning in real life. I think he has a lot of opportunity now. Not sure where he ends up being as a player, but I could definitely see him being a middle pairing guy. And with how young he is, it's a great pickup. Now, from the Detroit Red Wings, Shane Prince, another young forward. People, I think, in Ottawa had really high hopes for him. You always hear them talking about Shane Prince, or used to. So it's interesting. What can Shane Prince do from here and for the Vegas team? From the Edmonton Oilers, Michael Grabner, one of the fastest players in the league, and he scored a ton this past season. It's like he put it a little bit all together, and especially on the penalty kill, he was a threat. So great player. A little bit older into his career now, but still young enough where it's a great pick. From the Florida Panthers, Nick Holden. Now, I like Nick Holden a lot. I love his contract. I think it's $1.6 million. I probably should have protected him, but I did not expect his rating to be as high as it was. I decided to protect Yakupov over Holden. That's who I was deciding between, and it's kind of hard not to protect Yakupov, former #1 overall pick. I think it's more of the fact, like I said, and if any of you watched our video yesterday, the fact that I think many of us, including myself, tend to favor forwards over defense unless they're in that upper echelon of defensemen, like maybe the top 15, top 20 defensemen. I think outside of that, you're going to, at least me personally, and I think for a few others, you're going to favor to protect the forward over the defenseman. And yeah, I kind of, if I had to do it again, I think I would have protected Holden and just take the risk on Yakupov being what he is. But great pick nonetheless. From the LA Kings, Josh Lavo, another young forward, has a bunch of opportunity, I think, to be a little bit better. I think he is third line forward at the end of the day, but who knows? He might bounce it up. From the Minnesota Wild, Pontus Edberg. Hope I said that right. Another good pick, another young player. This Vegas team is pretty young so far. You don't really have too many old people halfway through. Maybe outside of Crawford, if you want to throw Grabner in there, maybe Emlyn, but so far so good. And from the Montreal Canadiens, this might be the most interesting part of the draft, these next 5 picks actually. Alaric selects the 7th overall pick. This is what happens when your team doesn't meet the requirements, and I think Will knew this was coming. I think Will prepared for it. He didn't want to lose Vatanen over the 7th overall pick, so Alaric took the 7th overall pick, and that is tremendous value for the Vegas Knights. Whether they keep the pick or whether they take a player in the top 7, that's 2 players that they'll have in the top 7 to build around, along with that later first round pick and that early second round pick. So this team is in great position to build themselves out for the future. They don't even have to really, go the full rebuild route. If they want, they can maybe even compete. You got Crawford and net. So far so good. I think they're a little bit lacking on forward so far in the draft to compete, but it gives you an idea that this team will be ready to compete sooner rather than later. And from the Nashville Predators, Tuukka Rask. So back-to-back extremely building block picks. You can't really get much better than that. Getting a 7th overall pick and getting Tuukka Rask all in one shot. That's amazing, and that's going to really put this team in a position where they can deal now Crawford or Rask or even both if they wanted to. From the Devils, Chris Russell, a pretty good defenseman. Not really. I feel like he's another Ben Lovejoy in a sense. He is what it is. He's good. He's not terrible. He gets his job done. Middle pairing guy, like a 4th defenseman. So solid pickup. And from the Islanders, good old Jaromir Jagr. I don't know where to start with Jagr. He's, 44, 45? And still better than, I want to say, a good, maybe he's in that top third of the forwards still in the league. He's not as fast as he was, not, as strong on the puck as he was, but he just knows where the puck is. He's there at the right time, always getting the points, so definitely good trade value. I think what Alaric's plans might be here is to keep the half salary on Jagr and trade him to a contending team and maybe get a pick back for him. Maybe you can get a first for him, especially, at half salary. Jagr would be a great bargain. And from the Rangers, Derek Engelland, another good defenseman, solid guy, middle pairing guy yet again. I think that he's one of the better middle pairing guys, especially defensively. Always responsible. Now for the last third of the draft, from the Ottawa Senators, Martin Hanzal, another good forward, definitely a second line center. He's extremely good defensively. He can pass the puck, always good on face-offs, strong on the puck. Not the fastest guy, but he's always there. He's a great pickup, former first-round pick, so it's a nice selection. From the Philadelphia Flyers, Anton Stralman. You can argue Stralman's maybe a number 2 defenseman, given the fact his role in real life on the Lightning. Maybe I think he's more of a number 3 or a low-end number 2. But Stralman's a very good defenseman. Definitely a nice pickup there. And from the Penguins, Michael Furland. Another young forward. You see, if you want to compare the forwards to defense, I think the forwards are a little bit on the lower side. I think that's one thing that's harder, though, is building a forward team. So those picks that he has, I think, will help him forward-wise. And from the Sharks, Melker Karlsson, another good young forward. Second line potential, maybe if he gets traded somewhere else. I think he's more of a third line guy like Furland is, and a few of the other guys have been picked so far. But they're young players, and young players is what you want if you're Vegas. And from the Blues, Antoine Vermette. Similar to Martin Hansel, a little bit on the older side though than Hansel is, and Vermette's a solid center, always winning faceoffs, good defensively, still really fast. Second line center, I would still say, in this part of his career. Can't really go wrong with Vermette there. And now for the final 5 picks from the Tampa Bay Lightning, Cody Ceci. Very solid pickup. This might be the best defenseman that was picked for them in terms of how good Ceci is and his age compared to some of the older defensemen that were picked. So I think Ceci is a great pickup here. Might be the number 2 guy in Ottawa next year, so definitely a great pickup. And from the Toronto Maple Leafs, Colin Wilson. This guy had a great year last year, and then this year it wasn't as good. So who knows what to expect from him coming this year. Wilson had a lot of higher hopes than what he's turned out to be so far in his career, but definitely a good player, good second liner. So can't really go wrong there as well. From the Canucks, Philip Grubauer, a young goalie. He played well when given opportunity. I think that's the problem, is the opportunity. Where is he going to get it from? There's just so many goalies now in real life where you see them playing so well for a stretch, and then they have maybe a run of 1 to 2 bad games, and it's like the next goalie up gets a chance, and they end up stealing the starting job. Obviously, Grubauer is not in a situation where he would be stealing the starting job from the guy in front of him, which is Holtby. But I think he has a better shot if he moves elsewhere. And from the Capitals, Matthew Perreault. Oh, I forgot the T at the end there. So just imagine a little T next to the L. But Perreault had a great year. I think he will have another great year as well. He's a little bit older, but he's a very solid forward to have in your on your team. And for the very last pick, from the Winnipeg Jets, Nick Hjalmarsson, another great defenseman as well. Top pairing guy, I guess behind Seabrook as well. So middle pairing guy, but I think he could be a number 2 on another team. Maybe not anymore. I think at this point he's a little bit older, so he is still a middle pairing guy, but I think he once was at one point a top pairing guy. But that's it for the first 30 picks. However, don't forget, Vegas has 3 UFA picks to pick from still. So we're not done yet. The final 3 picks. Keep in mind, you can only select 1 UFA from 1 team. No team can lose 2 UFAs. So, the first team to lose a UFA is the Arizona Coyotes. And the player is Antti Ranta. Great goalie again. Very heavy on the goalies. I think he has about 6 goalies now, and 6 all very good. Ranta, when in for Lundqvist, was better than Lundqvist, so maybe he's the future there, or maybe he's the future elsewhere, but I think he's a starting goalie now. I think this is a really good pickup. I think these UFA selections balance his team a little bit more. Now for the second UFA team, it is the Washington Capitals, and the player, Richard Panik. I'm sure most of you were panicking. Another good forward. He came out of nowhere this year. I don't think people were expecting him to have as good as a season as he did. Although he did start the season very, very well. He didn't really carry that throughout the end of the year, but had a great year nonetheless. And the last team, the last UFA pick is from your Winnipeg Jets. So very interesting. The last 2 picks of the first 30 selections are the last 2 picks of the UFA selections. So the last player picked out of the whole expansion draft is Cam Talbot. Unbelievable. Uh, I guess when you put yourself in a situation with Talbot and Quick, this is what you expect. Uh, Talbot, great goalie. The star for the Edmonton Oilers, maybe the star for the Vegas Golden Knights. You have this insane goalie tandem, not even a tandem, I guess, quattro. You got Ranta, Talbot, Crawford, and Rask. That's so much trade value. The question is he going to get fair trade value? I know teams that lose their goalie, they're gonna are they gonna want to lose their forwards and defensemen to get that goalie back? Are they gonna want to lose their youth? Maybe the teams that lost their goalies are gonna, you know what? Let's rebuild. Let's retool. Let's take a step back here. Uh, I wouldn't be surprised to see some of the teams that did lose their goalie, or if they lost that one defenseman that they actually really needed, that their next guy up is not really very good, and moving a guy from that was on their third pairing into their second pairing now isn't going to cut it. So I expect to see a lot of moves. Trading is now officially open. Your UFA, anybody that was not re-signed, you have the ability to re-sign them. Uh, you will have we haven't decided yet, but I believe we're going to make the signings due June 31st. Is there a 31st in June? June 30th or June 31st, whatever one it is. The entry draft's going to be July 1st, the following week after the real life entry draft. There's going to be more details posted on the website. There will be a message sent out, be posted on the message as well. I'm going to send a message out to everybody in the league. Those of you who don't check the boards, which you all should, but not faulting anyone. But yeah, they're definitely a very good team if I could talk. But yeah, very interesting. It's a little bit harder, like I said, compared to the one, if any of you watched it in Bar Down yesterday, where there is no cap. I think this team is really good. I think it would be cool. I think what I'm going to do, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, is I'm going to take a look at all three Vegas teams from our three leagues, and I'm going to post what each team looks like, and we can all compare which Vegas team looks better, which Vegas team is set up to win better. But I think getting that 7th overall pick in this one really separates this, as we're going to have a very good young team coming, whether it's in 2 or 3 years from now. But thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, comment below. And I'll also have this posted in our Google Excel file probably sometime this week. So those of you who watch the video, you get to enjoy it. And I'll probably have it on the website within about 3 or 4 days or so. So thank you guys for watching again.